I would like to do now is to invite our counselors into the space. And here they come.
Hey, Ms. Arviza, really quick. I believe there's a comment around the Spanish translation. I don't mind translating. Well, oh, it seems like they're jumping on probably.
Do you see them?
Do we have the name of the translator?
I just saw Gabriel. I'm assuming it's yeah.
Oh,
hey, there he is.
Oh, yay.
So we already have Mandarin translation going, Gabriel. So if you can let people know that you are available for Spanish translation, I'm going to get that rolling.
Perfect. Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes. Estamos ofreciendo traducción al español. Si usted necesita traducción al español, necesita colocar la interpretación en la parte de abajo en el panel de control y seleccionar el idioma. Gracias.
Thank you so much. I'm going to put you into the interpretation room.
And while that is happening, I just wanted to see if maybe UC Merced might be in one of our attendees. If so, if you could maybe raise your hand, that and we can pull you in and become a panelist.
Ms. Ho,
Yes.
Angel, I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, Saxdate is here.
Yes, we chatted. Yes, so
Abigail
here. Yes, Abigail's here. It's wonderful. Mr. Magana will be introducing them very shortly. We also see Estella here as well. Wonderful.
I just spoke with Mr. Ford with Tim, and he should be in shortly.
Okay, wonderful. So that's great. So he will be here. So I'll keep an eye out for his name and then promote him to panelist when he's able to join us.
Awesome.
Okay,
And
great.
As questions come up, just so everyone in the room knows, we did have the chat available for the PTSO event, but I've just turned that off. So we are using the Q&A section fully. So if you have questions in English or Spanish, please go ahead and ask your questions.
Yes, we'll be monitoring the Q&A. So whether it's going to be a counselor that will be answering them, or if you want to direct them directly to one of our college reps, you certainly can do that as well. And they can answer those questions. Is that okay with you, with the campuses? I see nods. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And then so we can get our presentation going. Just getting used to a couple clicks. Go. Okay, you're up, Mr. Magana.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Mr. Magana. I happen to be one of the new school counselors this school year. I'm joining Aragon for the first time. And welcome to our 11th grade post-high school planning night. And we're just going to try to talk about a few things that we find important to prepare you for college application process next year. Next slide. Just really quickly, we're gonna go, here's our agenda for the following session. I'm gonna talk a little bit about finding the right fit, and then we're gonna have our lovely representatives from the community college, our CSU, our UC and private college go in this particular order. And then we'll talk about our Western Undergraduate Exchange application, our WUI, what is often referred to. We'll speak a little about letters of recommendation, which we have a big update for this upcoming year. And then we'll talk about some additional post-secondary options. Finding the right fit. So what college is right for me, in particular your students. And what I'm going to talk about is not the end all about each one of these things, but for the 4 things is academics, campus culture, financial aid, and career development. And so for academics, it's it's looking at what does the school offer you and what is the student interested in particular the major. And so pure short, if the school has the major that the student wants, and it might be right away a good choice to maybe apply. And then if it doesn't, obviously it's a not. So it's like understanding and having to look into, and we often suggest is finding out what the student wants to study and if the school offers it. Campus culture, our students have been attending Aragon, has 1,700 students, and looking at did the student thrive at Aragon? Are they doing well? Do they, and then looking at college, do they want a bigger campus? Do they want a smaller campus? What is right for them when it comes to the size, the location, the student body? I often recommend students to go to different websites that sort of give ratings to things that are outside the classes. So social life, the food, the dorms, all these things are part of the campus culture and are really important to make the overall experience a good fit for the student. It's not all about academics. While that's the most important thing, students that are going into a 4-year, 2-year will be joining the community. And so we need to know, where the students and the families should know, is that community the right fit for the student? Financial aid. Students will, in some capacity, need to know and apply to financial aid, right? We have this law that we might talk about upcoming where for FAFSA and financial aid, students either have to opt out or opt in. But more than that, it does cost money for our families and for the students. And so our loans, something that students are going to have to grab. It does come down sometimes to a financial cost. And so, or a financial decision, we often like to say. And so it's important to think about how much money is being provided to the student. And so it does sometimes come down to a financial decision. And of course, one of our last points is career development. Am I accepting or applying to a school who's maybe, let's say, economics, if they're econ major, has postgraduate, or do they have a good reputation? Sometimes this matters. And so let's say a student gets into 4 schools and and they got into it, all the schools for each of their majors, let's say computer science. Which computer science program is better? Which one's rated higher? And so sometimes these things can help you all figure out what is the right fit. What I just said is not the end or be all for anything, one of these things. We have all these different things that families and students should consider. And research can begin as of right now. Absolutely. Next slide. These are some nice questions that we like to consider as the counseling, and some questions to just ask ourselves about college, right? And so I'm not going to go through each one of these, but these can be questions that you, the family, can speak to the student or just have conversations with the student and can sort of guide your college search process. And so again, we're going to go into the summer, and the UC rep is going to speak about it, but that opens August 1st, if I'm correct. And so this summer should be, and even right now, I would say, should begin these conversations about which colleges and which options students should start and families should start thinking about. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to move into our college representatives. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. Based on the agenda, I believe Estela Garcia is going to go first. Then we're going to have Angel Orejel second. And then we're going to have, I believe, Tim Ford from UC Merced, followed by Abigail McConnell from University of Redlands. Okay, thank you.
So hello everyone, my name is Estela Garcia. I am the college recruiter for College of San Mateo, and I am also an adjunct counselor and nursing counselor at CSM. So I cut down slides, I went through different PowerPoints, and I just kind of made them short because I know we don't have a lot of time. So pardon me, I will probably talk a little bit fast, but we are celebrating our 100 years this year. I am a total advocate of the community college system of CSM. I get today actually at Aragon at an event, I actually talked to a student and they might come and do summer courses with us. Originally I thought they were going to come to CSM. They're like, oh no, I'm going to UCLA. Perfect. If a student wants to go to UCLA and that's their top choice and they got in, I always say go for it, right? If you're financially able to, and if the student is, I say socially and emotional ready, then why not? I always say, I'm not going to tell you come to CSM and do that. If that's not, every student has their own path. Just to mention the California Community College system, we are the world's largest higher education system. We actually have 116 community colleges here in California, which is amazing. Students have options here. As the previous counselor was saying, I always say, consider your right option, right? Sometimes just because we're right up the hill, we may not be the right option for the student. Maybe we don't have the program that the student wants, but we all do have at least general programs, and then each community college has very specific individualized career programs as well. Almost 50% of our community college transfers to the UCs account for a bachelor's degree in the STEM field. That's huge if we really think about it. At College of San Mateo, we do accept applications year round, and that's Cañada, CSM, Skyline. Most community colleges here in the area do accept. Foothill and De Anza are a quarter system, but we are a semester system. And what does that mean? That means for example, our fall semester is going to start in August and it'll go through December, and then it starts again middle of January and goes through May. So we're about to finish our spring semester, and then we have a summer session. So many of your students will probably actually be doing concurrent enrollment in the summer. And so if you've emailed me, I am sorry. I have 509 emails right now in my email account. So I will get to them if your student's doing concurrent. But that's an option for students that are looking to do concurrent enrollment. Get ahead, start maybe researching what they may want to do in their future, maybe get some college credit while they're in high school. So just an option for students. We here at CSM do have 90 associate degrees, 81 certificate programs. Every school has their own student clubs, learning communities. We do have over 20 student clubs. We used to be at about 60 before the pandemic. About 50% of our students receive financial aid. The one thing I do like about our local community colleges is that we do offer small class sizes. So for example, at CSM, our average class size tends to be between 30 and 35 students per class. And we do award more than 12 million annually. Now, I'm going to bring this a little more personalized and just mention I do have 2 daughters, both of them who did concurrent enrollment. One of them is at CSM. The other one graduated MA last spring, and went directly to San Diego State. She wanted to get far away from mom, so she went far away from mom. But as a parent of a student at CSM, I would say the one great thing is she was able to get into our Promise program. What does that mean? That means it saves me money, right? Because it helps cover textbook support up to $750 in textbooks. It helps, they have a counselor that they see every month. They have a space that they can call theirs. She was also able to get involved and got involved with something called Puente Learning Communities. We have learning communities for students, whether it's Puente, Mana, Emotion. I'll go over that a little bit towards the end. But she was able to build community, which actually supports her in her academics. We have online and in-person courses, and this pretty much goes for any community college, right? Students are able to make flexible schedules. Oftentimes students maybe right out of high school don't want to get up at 8 in the morning. That was the case with my daughter. So she started classes oftentimes at 10 in the morning because she doesn't like morning classes. She was able to get the small class sizes. And what's great about that is that the instructor is the one lecturing. The instructor gets to know the students, especially if the students connect with the instructors, go to their office hours, make the peer connections. And it's not like the students just in a huge auditorium listening. No, the instructors genuinely work with the students one-on-one. They have office hours. So if the students need the support and the help, they will be there for them. I've already gone over concurrent enrollment a little bit, but we do offer the concurrent enrollment courses, which she was able to do. She was able to earn high school credit and college credit. They are free for high school students. However, there is something called an inclusive access fee that students sometimes are required to pay if that class has if the class has an inclusive access textbook. That means it's an online textbook that has to be paid. If they take a class such as ceramics, those have material fees. Students must pay for the material fees. What they don't have to pay for as a concurrent enrollment student are the fees themselves. So they won't have to pay the $46 per unit. I always say cost financial aid. Just make sure that students I know your students are going to be seniors, so that by March 2nd next year that they do apply for financial aid, right? Oftentimes parents think that students aren't going to qualify, but even to be able to qualify for some of our programs like the Promise program, it's not necessarily based on financial need, but they do have to fill out a FAFSA or a California Dream Map application. And there's a lot of available scholarships out there as well. I'm on the scholarship committee, and we had money this year. We had not as much as last year, but there's money there, and it's not necessarily based on financial needs. So if I can give you all any piece of advice, have your students start looking for scholarships and applying for them now. Make sure that they do the FAFSA as soon as possible, starting, I think it opens up in October and close. It doesn't close, but to have them do it before March 2nd. I've already talked a little bit about our Promise program, but it is a multi-year tuition support program, meaning that it's not just for 1 year like some of the other programs in other community colleges. Ours is actually up to a 3-year program. Students will get their tuition paid for if they end up eligible for the program. They'll get up to $750 in textbook support per year. They get some priority enrollment. They get their individual counselor. There's workshops and events that they can attend that are just for students. There's also classes that are specifically blocked off for our Promise students. So some of our really good professors are blocked off for our Promise students. And then as long as they attend a workshop every month and meet with their counselor, they receive a $50 incentive. We do offer student support programs. The thing is, it's not going to be like in high school where you guys get a call right now, right? If your students don't show up to class, it's not going to be where we're chasing after the students to try to get them to get certain support programs. The students have to advocate for themselves, and the students are going to have to, when they meet with the counselors, usually the counselors will give them tips on, oh, maybe you should join this, or what about these programs? But it's up to the student to maybe go on the website and look for different opportunities and support programs and learning communities that they may be interested in. These are some of our top majors at CSM. So our administration of justice, I would say our business administration is really popular, as well as our fire technology, and our nursing is our most impacted one. We have an associate's degree registered nursing program. There are a ton of prereqs that they have to complete before they can apply to the program. I won't say a ton, but there are several. There's also, if they get into the nursing program, it's a 2-year program, but we have a partnership with San Francisco State. We're in 2 years and 1 semester. If they get into the San Francisco State program, that's our partnership, our bridge program, they can get an associate's degree in 2 years and 1 semester and a bachelor's. This is just kind of, I put together a little admission. So I say between October to June, students can apply to CSM. I say the sooner the better, but usually I tell students a good time to apply is January, February, March, and then attend a financial aid workshop or a FAFSA workshop or Dream App workshop, complete their online orientation, or I know we just did a PEP recently at Aragon, which is our priority enrollment program for our incoming seniors. They won't have to complete assessment, but what they do have to do is the way they answer their questions on their application kind of places them. But if they took any AP classes, any IB class, if they took SATs or ACTs, they should submit their transcripts to us. We will be having our annual open house, which is our Connect to College, which is Thursday. Oh, I put May 5th. It's May 4th, sorry. May 4th from 6 to 8. And I have a flyer at the end of this. And juniors are more than welcome to come. So it's for seniors and juniors if they'd like to join. And then in May, usually students will pay and register and pay for their classes. We also have our TAG program, and I'm going to hurry up because I hope I'm not going too much over time. We have a TAG program, which is our transfer admission guarantee. And what does this mean? This means if a student attends, say, CSM, and they want to go to UC Davis, as long as the student maintains a certain GPA for most majors, not for all, and as long as they take the required courses, they can be guaranteed a spot. Usually I tell students it's a GPA of about a 3.4, 3.5 for most majors. It might be a little less for certain majors, but I like to say 3.4, 3.5, that way, you know, it'll cover anything below. We have something similar for San Francisco State and East Bay, and usually with about a 2.0, 2.5, they can get into a lot of the majors there. And then we have a lot of private schools and historically Black universities as well.
We have a question in the chat that,
Oh, yes.
that's really, or in the Q&A. So the question, the questions that our families are asking are, you know, like statistically or on average, how many students transfer from, you know, CSM or a community college to a UC, like, or a competitive, a really, I mean, they're all competitive at this point, but a really competitive UC. Do you have any idea?
I don't. I will say that for some reason, we do have a lot of students that transfer to UC. I would say UC Berkeley is one of our
Mhm.
top UCs. That's why I really like our tag program though, because you can tag with almost any school except for UCLA, UC Berkeley, and UC San Diego. But that doesn't mean that you can't apply and still get in. I would say, you know, it's as a parent and as a student, make sure that the student's not just focusing on academics. Students should focus on being, you know, holistically a student. Like, are they doing internships? Are they doing volunteer work? Are they, you know, yes, it's great that they're getting A's and B's, but what else are they doing, right?
Yeah. That feeds in actually to the next question. Like, so with the tag program, does it guarantee a specific UC of choice or?
Yes.
Okay.
So they are guaranteed here, let me go back. They can be guaranteed with any of these UCs as long as it's for a major, and it changes every year. So I know, you know, we may have a major there this year that may not, they may remove it and say, okay, we're not doing engineering. We're not tagging with engineering. It's, you know, at, I don't know, one of the UCs. But that usually it is, they have to maintain that GPA.
Right.
So as long as they maintain that GPA of about a 3, just to be safe, 3.5, and as long as they take the required courses, yes.
Okay. Can they be in the Promise and Tag programs at the same time?
Yeah, so Promise is completely different. Promise is a student support program. So students can be in Promise, and one of my other favorite programs is called EOPS, which is Extended Opportunity Programs and Services. You have to qualify to be in that program, but I tell students apply because you don't know if you'll get in. I mean, I was in the program. I wish and hope that my daughter would have applied and gone into it, but she wasn't. There's certain criteria that I know she wouldn't have qualified because I had gone to college.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll pop back up again if there's.
Okay, please.
questions for you.
It's actually beneficial because I'm going through it. It's helpful.
Oh yeah, you got it. You got it.
Thank you. These are just some pictures of our beautiful campus. So if you haven't been, I know majority of you have probably been up here, whether it's for the farmers market or for events. We are kind of like a mini university. In the past, we used to be called the Harvard on the Hill. Some of the learning communities. So I always tell students, make sure that you become involved because you're going to get out of any school that you go to, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And if you're just coming to school and taking classes, then that's kind of all you're going to get out of it. But if you come and you become involved, say you become a student ambassador and you come work for me, right? I think my students are making like 19 something an hour right now. Or if you come and you work for our library or you join some clubs or you join one of our learning communities, you tend to meet a lot of the staff on campus. You're going to need recommendation letters for scholarships or potentially when you're transferring. You're going to need, it's good to be known on campus. So the more that the student can get involved, the better. And the high statistics show that students have a higher retention rate and graduation rate if they're involved on campus. So some of the programs, MANA for Asian Pacific Islanders, or anyone who wants to know a little bit more about the Asian Pacific Islander culture, Puente for Latinx, Umoja African American. I need to add it, and this is a different presentation than one I normally use, which we have Katipunan now for our Filipinx students. We have Writing in the End Zone for our football players. We also have one called, I think it's Women in Action for our female athletes. We have an honors project for students that want to take honors courses, and then Project Change for our formerly incarcerated youth. We also offer study abroad. I think this year, actually, I should update it. We're going to Barcelona in the fall. So students are still able to get that experience that oftentimes they're like, oh, I can't get the college experience. You can, but like I say, you get out of it what you put into it, and as much as you need to seek out the resources. We're having our annual Connect to College, which is going to be Thursday, May 4th from 6 to 8. So I have, I think 43 tables confirmed. So our fire tech is going to be there, nursing, cosmetology, our Promise, our EOPS, all of these different programs will be there. And it's going to be tabling from 6 to 7, from 7 to 8. It's going to be a program and dinner. So if you all are deciding to come, do not eat dinner. I'm actually going to have chicken fajitas, vegetarian fajitas, rice, beans. I'm feeding you guys. And if you have any seniors, if you're thinking of coming, you can have them. Either way, you can all RSVP, but only seniors will be eligible to win a $400 scholarship because it's to our bookstore. And so our juniors won't be able to benefit from that. They wouldn't be at CSM by then. Other than that, this is my contact information. I would say the best way to kind of reach or have questions answered is if you go to collegeofsanmateo.edu/outreach, or if you go, we have a virtual front desk. So if you just click on collegeofsanmateo.edu and you click on virtual front desk, it'll connect you. We have hours from Monday through Friday, different times, different days. But I do have a student ambassador there, always staffing it, ready to answer questions. You can email me, but like I said, I just looked and have like 509 emails. So it's probably gonna take me a little bit more than a week to respond because I'm at the high schools all day. Other than that, thank you so much. And yeah, thank you and hope you have a good evening.
Hello, everybody. My name is Angel. I'm an admissions and outreach counselor here at Sacramento State University. Today, I'm going to provide a presentation on the 23 CSUs. This is just a general presentation, so I won't go specifics into each one. So if you're wondering what was the cost of the tuition for Chico State, I don't know. I'm just going to provide just the general information. Okay. Right off the bat, the agenda for the presentation, but you can also see the map of California and the 23 CSUs located in California. The cool thing about the 23 CSUs is that no matter where you live in California, you're at least 2 hours away from one CSU. And pay attention to where the CSUs are located, because that could determine if there's a specific major offered at that CSU. The farthest up north is Humboldt and the farthest down south is San Diego. But as you can see, some of the CSUs are close to the coast. Okay, and then just a little agenda why I choose the CSU, the freshman admissions requirements. I'll also go through the transfer admissions requirements, funding a CSU degree, and key dates and deadlines. Feel free to take screenshots of the slides because they may have very important information. We invest in the future. 81% of our students receive financial aid. More than 50% of our undergraduates leave without any loans, any loan debt. So this is something that is super important for our students, that more than 50% of our students leave without being in any debt. Ranked among top 10 in economic mobility. And just a little quick facts about fostering our student life. So it's not just about going to class. We foster connections within the universities. We have student government, clubs, and sports. We also have culturally based centers based on the student's identity, right? So for example, at Sacramento State, we have a huge population of Hispanic or Latino. So we have the Cerna Center that focuses on those students. We have a large population of African-American students. So we have the MLK Center. We also grew in the Asian Pacific Islander students. So now we have the IPEDA Center, and a lot of CSUs do that. Based on the population, they may establish centers to help those students specifically. And obviously we have focus on students' well-being. So any kind of obstacles that students go through, we like to help them in any way possible, right? The best example that I can provide is that the coronavirus hit in 2019. So 2020. So we went completely virtual, right? So based on what the students are going through, based on their obstacles, we may establish a service to help them go through those obstacles, right? And I also recommend students, no matter where you go, whether it's a community college, a UC, a CSU, a vocational school, try to stay active outside of the classroom, join clubs, organizations, stay more connected within the university. The more you're connected in the university, the better grades you may receive. And that's also a good way for you to make connections. Where's the financial aid office? Where is the academic advising? Where's the gym, right? Those organizations, those programs, they're going to answer those very specific questions. But that's also something that you can put in your resume. because students, they can go and get the best grades, they can get a 4.0 GPA, but they're not just going to submit their degree when they go to apply for a job. They're gonna submit a resume. So I do encourage students to stay connected outside of the classroom. That way they can build their resume, they can create connections and just foster those connections and flourish within the CSU. What you can study at the CSU. So we do have those general majors at each CSU. So those English, the math, the chemistry, the bios. Usually the CSUs have those majors. However, they may have a specific major based on the location. And that goes to my first question that all of you should ask the representatives from each institution. Do you have my major? Mainly because if you are interested in a very specific major, the CSU may or may not have it, right? So I'm going to go back to the map, right? So for example, if you're interested in oceanography, you may want to apply for the CSUs that are close to the coast: Monterey Bay, Long Beach, San Diego, Maritime, San Francisco, right? Because they're close to the coast. For example, Sacramento State, Chico, Stanislaus, and Fresno don't offer that because they're not close enough. They can't study it, right? But each CSU may have a specific major. Sonoma State has a wine major. Fresno State has animal science, and they even have a ranch within the campus where students can go and study. So based on where it's located, they may offer a specific major or may not offer a specific major, right? So that brings me down to the first question you should ask each representative. Do you have my major? Because a student can be interested in San Diego, right? But if the university doesn't have the major, why should you apply? Okay. And all the CSUs are found in the Cal State Apply. And you can actually go into the Cal State Apply, type in your major, and it'll show you all the CSUs that offer the major. Okay. And I'll talk about the Cal State Apply in a bit. Freshman admissions requirements. So the CSUs accept two types of students: students coming in from high school and students coming in from the community college. The students who are coming in from high school are considered first-time freshmen. And these are the requirements that they're going to need, right? So they first have to graduate from high school. They have to complete the 15-unit A through G college preparatory classes, also known as the A through Gs, right? And they can be seen there on the right side. 2 years of history and social science, 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 2 years of laboratory science, 2 years of language other than English, 1 year of visual performing arts, and 1 year of college prep elective. Right now, if your son or daughter is a junior, right now is a good time for them to go talk to their counselor to see if they're eligible for the A through Gs. Because if they're missing a requirement, they can still take it in senior year. Okay, so right now is a good time for them to go see if they're on track, and if they're not, how can they get on track? They have to complete the A through Gs by the time they graduate from high school. Okay, because the CSUs eliminated the SATs and ACTs as an admissions requirements, now we're using the student's GPA. So if the student is local to the CSU, they're going to need a 2.5 GPA. If the student is not local to the CSU they're applying for, they're going to need a 2.75 GPA. And that is the weighted GPA. Okay. And that also takes me back to the map. Your school should be local to at least one CSU. All right. And then for the rest, they're going to be non-local and they're going to need a higher GPA. However, this does not mean that the student should just shoot for a 2.75. They should try to get the highest GPA that they can get. So those are the requirements for the first-time freshman. Now, let's say, for example, a student does not have the 2.5 GPA to go to their local CSU. We're going to look at the multi-factor admission score. So these are the factors that we're going to look at to see if the student is eligible. However, each CSU may have different factors. They may add factors, but they usually have all of these. So the primary factors: GPA in all completed A through G courses, GPA and courses taken in subjects relevant to the selected major. So if a student is trying to apply to a CSU, they don't have the GPA, they're going to look at the GPA of the major that they're interested. So they're going to, if the student is interested in a BA in mathematics, they're going to look at the math GPA that they have in high school. Also, if they did any academic courses beyond the minimum of the A through G. So instead of doing 3 years of mathematics, they did 4. If they did 3 years of language other than English rather than 2, that can be a determining factor to whether they're going to be accepted to the CSU or not. Then finally, the secondary supplemental factors, location of high school and educational opportunities available, such as reduced lunch. And also if the student's attributes, if they're first gen, if they're low income, if they were part of the foster youth, if they have any military service. And then finally, any activities, engagement outside of the school. So for example, if they have a part-time job, if they have volunteer work, if they were part of clubs and organizations. All of this information is going to be found in the Cal State Apply.
Angel?
Yeah.
Quick question for you. One of the attendees would like to know what local means. Like, is that distance closest to our high school? Like, what does that mean?
Usually the CSU decides what's local and what's non-local. I can't really provide the mile radius or distance because the CSUs themselves decide that. So I don't want to say 50-mile radius and it looks like you're like 50 miles away from a CSU, but it turns out that you're not local. So it's usually the CSU that decides. I would go ahead and just literally go on the map and see which is the CSU that's closest to you and go ahead and contact their admissions. That'll be the best.
Angel, it's Lori Tezak. Our local CSU is San Francisco State.
Okay.
And also Cal State East Bay has taken us in. So
oh, wow.
We are lucky enough to have both schools looking at us. Yes.
Awesome. That's great. Basically more for the buffet. So definitely take advantage of that because there are 2 of the great schools, especially for those students that are going into business and oceanography as well. So the transfer requirements. So moving into what we look into as a student coming from the community college. So they have to complete at least 60 semester or 90 quarter transferable units, which usually a student can do in about 2 years. They have to complete 30 semester or 45 quarter units in general education, right? So that's within the 60 semester or 90 quarter units. They also have to complete the Golden 4, which is oral communication, written communication, critical thinking, and a college level math or quantitative reasoning, right? They also have to have a qualifying GPA, which is a 2.0 or better. But again, don't shoot for a 2.0, try to shoot for higher. And then be in good academic standing the last semester they attend the institution, right? So students right now, they're taking advantage of the Promise Grant, I believe it's called, where students can go to the community college for 2 years for free. And that can be used for them to transfer to a CSU, okay? So these are the requirements for a student coming in from the community college. I do recommend students to look in for an ADT, that's Associate's Degree for Transfer. That's a degree they can get at the community college that is suited for them to go to a CSU. They basically complete all the requirements listed here, and they also complete prereqs for the major that they're interested in. Essentially, they're utilizing the community college at its best. So we do recommend them to get an ADT if the community college offers it. Right. So because of the limitations the community colleges may have, they may or may not offer the ADT. So a student can get an ADT in business and then transfer to a CSU, or ADT in psychology or criminal justice. That is a very important question you should ask the community college if you are interested in going there. Impaction. So impaction affects all CSU. Impaction basically means that the CSU or the major is full. Imagine I have a room with 100 students, 50 of them graduate, and 100 more want to come in. I have to pick and choose the students that are more committed and more determined to take my class. So next time, instead of graduating 50, I graduate 75. Okay, so it basically means that it's full and they're looking for the students that are more competitive and determined to take the major or take the classes so they can graduate in a timely manner. So impaction affects all CSU, but it affects in a different way. The first version is that the whole CSU is impacted, meaning that every single major is full. That means that the student is going to have to apply for the CSU and they're going to have to apply for the major, right? So there's 2 admissions portions there. Okay, so these are all the CSUs that are impacted at the freshman level and major, meaning the whole CSU is full. Fresno State, Cal State Fullerton, Long Beach, Los Angeles, San Diego State, San Jose State, and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So all the majors are full. Usually these CSUs, they have you apply for one major, but may ask you to identify a second major you may be interested in, okay? So remember that these ones are full, completely full. Then we have the other CSUs that just have a couple of majors that are impacted. However, the students can still come into the CSU and be interested in the impacted major and then apply for the major when they're ready. Okay, so what this means is that there's only a couple of majors that are full. The rest of the majors are not impacted, meaning the student can still come into the CSU. And if they apply for a non-impacted major, they get into the major automatically, right? But when a student is applying as a first-time freshman from high school, they can get into the CSU, do the requirements, the general ed and the prereqs, and then apply for the major, right? However, a transfer student, they're probably, if they apply for the impacted major, they're going to apply for the CSU, and then they're going to apply for the major, right? So the transfer students, they have to do the supplemental application as they're doing the accepted process into the CSU. Those CSUs are CSU Northridge, Cal Poly Pomona, Sacramento State, CSU Bernardino, and CSU San Marcos. Okay, so these are the CSUs that have a couple of majors that are impacted. And then we have the CSUs that are not impacted, meaning the majors are up for grabs, right? Except for nursing. Nursing is impacted everywhere. CSU Bakersfield, CSU Chico, Channel Islands, Dominguez Hills, East Bay, Cal Poly Humboldt, Maritime Academy, Monterey Bay, San Francisco State, Sonoma State, and CSU Stanislaus. And this brings me to the second question you should ask the CSU's reps. Is your CSU impacted? And if it's impacted, how is it impacted? What's the process? What do I have to do? Okay, so going back, first question you should ask, do you have my major? Second question you should ask, how does impaction work at your CSU? Academic preparation, something that we do want to recommend our seniors is make sure you take the highest English and the highest math. This is going to help you for the college level of mathematics and the writing. So definitely take advantage of those, of the highest English and the highest math in your high school. Funding a CSU degree. We do offer grants, scholarships, work study, veterans aid, loans, and California for all volunteer programs. Out of all these, the only things that you have to pay back are the loans. So definitely take advantage of FAFSA and scholarships. I like to tell my students that not applying for scholarships or financial aid is like seeing money outside your window you're too lazy to go get. So make sure you apply for those. It's free money and it can help you a lot in your college career. Definitely take a screenshot of this slide. The application for the fall of 2024 is going to open up on October 1st. It could close on November 30th. We have been extending it because of COVID, but we don't know. We're probably going to find out in September if we are going to extend it. But I like to tell my students to apply in the month of October. Reason being is because a lot of students like to procrastinate. And if they do it in the last minute, that means that a lot of more students are procrastinating and the system may crash. So I do recommend you guys to complete your application in the month of October. Some CSUs may extend it even longer. Some extend it to December 15th and others extend it to January. But that is not an excuse to wait to the last minute. Definitely take care of it in the month of October. Definitely take a screenshot of this. It's the list of items you should have with you when you're doing the Cal State Apply. Definitely have your unofficial transcripts, but make sure you have the classes that you're taking in the fall and the ones you're going to take in the spring. Definitely put those in there. Otherwise, you're probably going to get denied because the A through Gs are not going to be complete. So make sure you know the classes you're going to take in your senior year. Make sure you have your social security number if you have one, your citizenship status, a method of payment, your parents' citizenship status, annual income, your parents' employment background, and 2 letters of recommendation if you're applying for the Equity Opportunity Program that helps low-income students, and your California statewide student ID, which can be found in your unofficial transcripts. I'm going to skip this because I know I'm running out of time, but this one is very important, is the CSU admissions process. So kind of the flow as the students apply or when they're done applying. So they apply by November 30th. If you're local to the CSU, you may find out if you've been admitted in the month of December. But all students should know if they've been admitted by March 1st from all the CSUs. You may have to submit some documents in the spring, maybe some official transcripts or some documents to financial aid. You may have to do your intent to enroll in May. Intent to enroll is basically you saying you are interested in that CSU. You may have to attend orientation in the summer, and you finally attend your first day of class in August. This is after you've done the whole process. Okay. And then finally, this is my contact information in case you do want to reach out to me. If you want me to do an admissions evaluation based on your transcripts, if you're on the right track, I'm more than happy to do an evaluation. If you want to sit down and talk about the admissions requirements, what majors are offered at each CSU, I do have contacts at all CSUs in case you want to reach out to them.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Timothy Ford. I am the Senior Admissions Advisor for UC Merced. I'm the regionally based Northern California rep, so I'm your contact. I'm going to be giving a presentation on the University of California as a whole, but as you can see right here on this screen, there is a QR code. So if you'd like to stay connected with my campus specifically, UC Merced, I do invite you to take a screenshot of that QR code and fill out the information there, and we can follow up with you for more information about our campus specifically. But like my colleague in the CSU, I'm going to give you a general UC overview. So let's jump right into it. So the UC system, first and foremost, we are one university, the University of California, which is comprised of 9 undergraduate campuses. Then there are 10 campuses in the entire system. The one campus that is not showing on this map would be our San Francisco location, because that is primarily our post-bac campus for the health sciences. But there are 9 undergraduate campuses to which you can apply to directly out of high school. And as you can see on this map, we pretty much depict a certain feel for what California is known for. So I'm going to go about that in the next few slides, kind of give you an idea more of that. But one thing to also note is that we are a research institution, which means that we have a number of additional services that we provide to the community at the same time while we're conducting research. Many of our campuses also have medical centers. Some of our medical centers include UC San Francisco, UC Davis, UC Irvine, San Diego, Riverside, and Los Angeles. And then a few of our campuses also have schools of law as well. So you can't go wrong with any of the UCs. The campus that I represent is the newest UC campus. We opened our doors in 2005 to increase access to those desiring a UC educational experience. And to kind of give you an idea of our undergraduates, you can see right here that the majority of our students, first and foremost, are our California residents. So you are our first priority. We've heard a lot of stories about this, that the UCs are not really catering to our California residents, but please keep in mind that you are first and foremost our priority. And we do have a growing number of students who are applying internationally and from out of state, but in the entire UC system, 82% of our student body are from California. We also have about 39% of our students who identify as first generation, and we love our transfer students as well. We're about 30% of our students accounting for as being transfer students. And we have welcoming unique student programs in the entire UC system in terms of who we support. Just a few of these supported populations would include our undocumented students, our underground scholars. We have our guardian scholars for those who've come through the foster care system. We love our veterans, as well as our first gen students, students coming from underrepresented backgrounds, and of course, students with dependents as well. So when you're choosing a UC campus, there's a number of factors that you should consider. First and foremost, you want to think about the campus environment that is best for you. Now in that first map that I showed you, we represent California as a whole, meaning that you're going to find some campuses that are urban in nature, that are going to be involved more so in the hustle and bustle of big cities. So you have campuses like Berkeley, Los Angeles that are in more urban settings. You have beautiful beachside campuses like San Diego, Santa Barbara, a beautiful campus in the forest, not too far from here, Santa Cruz, and more rural campuses like Merced and Davis to give you a feel. So you want to think about the type of environment that's best suited for you. You also want to think about the size of that campus. So do you see yourself in a campus with over 30,000 students? Or do you see yourself in a campus such as at UC Merced, where you have about 9,000 total? So ask yourself those key questions when doing your research. Does the campus have the major to which you're interested in? Now, many of our campuses will have similar majors, but they may be titled differently. So it's important that you do conduct your research to find out how those majors are defined, or if they even have those majors. And also what resources and support programs are available to you and others like you. Many times we have students who are actively involved in research, but they're also involved in internship opportunities. And so they're able to explore what those opportunities are within their general region, but also in the surrounding regions as well. So I'm going to jump into freshman admissions. Now, first and foremost, what defines a freshman applicant? The definition of a first-year freshman applicant depends on one thing. Did you, the student, take college courses while still enrolled in high school, or did you take those college courses in a regular term after you graduated from high school? Now, if it's the former, meaning that you have not graduated from high school and you've taken some dual enrollment courses, at the time that you apply to UC, you will still be defined as being a first-year freshman applicant, even though you'll have a lot of college coursework under your belt. So do keep that in mind. We do allow you to take even courses the summer after you graduate from high school, and still be considered a first-year applicant, because the summer is not defined as being a regular term. So the freshman admission timeline, the UC application opens August 1st. It is one application you are filling out for each campus to which you are to be considered for. You can start working on your application as early as August 1st. However, you cannot submit your application until the window of October 1st through November 30th. November 30th, 11:59 p.m., 59 seconds. That is the absolute deadline. However, we don't want you to wait that long to submit your application. We definitely give you ample time to work on it much earlier and submit early if you can. Also, keep in mind that the FAFSA and the CADA application also opens October 1st, and you have between October 1 to March 2nd to apply for financial aid. The UC starts releasing decisions in March. You may hear any of March. Each UC will differ in when they release their decisions. And of course, the National Day of Decision is May 1st, to which you must commit to any university in the nation by May 1st. If you're committing to a specific campus, keep in mind that July 1st is when your official final transcripts must be due to the Office of Admissions, and July 15th if you're planning on taking any AP courses or IB exams. So the requirements for applying to the UCs, there are two requirements. Number one, your A through G requirements are defined here. Many of you know what those are. I'd like to encourage you to go above and beyond whenever possible. So if you see, for example, in Area C, where it states 3 years are required, 4 years are recommended, if you have the opportunity, please take the 4th year. The beautiful thing about taking the 4th year or going above and beyond is that for the Area G area, college preparatory elective, that extra year of Area C will automatically meet the Area G requirement. Same for Area D. If you take 3 years of recommended science, you've already met the college preparatory elective by going above and beyond. So that's a beautiful thing to keep in mind with that. So the UC GPA requirement is a 3.0 minimum for California residents, 3.4 for non-residents. This is for eligibility only. And your UC GPA is calculated based on the summer coursework after your freshman year, all the way through the summer after your junior year. Those are the grades that will be calculated into your GPA. So your freshman year grades will not be calculated. However, those freshman courses that you've taken will be accounting for your A through G courses. And also, we do weight GPAs calculated by the UC if you've taken up to 8 semesters of UC approved honor level courses, AP, IB, or if you've taken a college level course that is A through G or UC transferable. We do convert plus and minuses. So if you earned a C minus, for example, in a course, that is actually a C. If you earned a B plus in a course, that is actually a B. So we do not factor in pluses or minuses. We do convert those grades. And during, of course, the COVID terms, we are allowing for students who have taken A through G courses on a pass credit to allow that if they've been taken starting with winter 2020 all the way through summer 21. I believe this coming year will be the last year that we'll be honoring those COVID terms. All right. So does UC consider activities and awards? Part of our review process is absolutely. We take into account coursework other than A through G courses. We want to be involved, see how well you're involved in the courses at your high school. Are you involved in educational prep programs outside of your school or maybe within your school? If you're taking courses like AVID, for example, your involvement in extracurricular activities will also play a key factor. Your community service involvement, awards and special awards that you received and honors that you received, as well as your work experience. I'm going to go into this a little bit more detail with the comprehensive review portion. You may have also heard of two state guarantee programs, the statewide guarantee, which is basically if you are identified as being in the top 9% of California high school graduates, you will be guaranteed a space at a UC campus if space is available. I'm going to emphasize the if on that. And it may be a campus to which you may not have applied to, but we'll do our best to get you in a UC campus. But keep in mind that this will change because as years go on, we don't know what the applicant pools will continue to look like. Historically, UC Merced, UC Riverside have offered space to students who qualify under this statewide pathway. There's also the local context, the ELC, where students would also be considered for that as well. So what is the difference between requirements and selection? So I mentioned the requirements for all the UCs with a GPA of a 3.0 minimum if you're a California resident and your A through G courses. One thing to note is that we are no longer looking at the SAT or the ACTs for eligibility requirements. So even if you submit those scores, they will not be looked at for reviewing the application, nor for scholarship consideration. What we do look at, however, are 13 additional factors as part of our comprehensive review. So we're taking into account, for example, the courses that you're taking at your high school, the GPA that you're earning those courses, are your honors courses, special projects you've been involved in, special talents you may possess, special awards you've received. Are you team captain of the school basketball team? Are you MVP? Did you start a club at your school? We want to know about those opportunities that you have achieved. Life experiences and special circumstances all play into that as well too. Now, every UC campus will utilize the same 13 factors. However, each UC campus will differ in how they apply those factors. So some campuses may use a full holistic review process. Others, like UC Merced, will have more of a fixed weight on those factors. So it's important that you do apply broadly when applying to the UCs, because some campuses may definitely select differently than others, and we all review independent of one another. Some campuses may take your major into account when reviewing your application. Other campuses will not take your major into account when reviewing the application. So again, make sure you do apply broadly. The personal insight questions, my favorite part of the application, is a chance for us to really get to know who you are. There are 8 questions. You are required to respond to 4 out of those 8. All questions hold equal value. So select the 4 questions that best defines who you are to us. Each response has a 350-word maximum. These are not meant to be essays or personal statements. These are questions. Treat these as interview-like questions. So when you're responding, try to shy away from starting off with a quote or giving me this fluffy scenario. We don't really want to see that in the UCs. The private schools may be looking for you to be more creative in their approaches, but for the UCs, you do have to separate yourself from what we're asking of you in the responses. So do keep that in mind. So real briefly, a transfer student is a student who has left or graduated high school and has enrolled in a regular term at a college or university after high school, which pretty much means the fall after your graduation from high school. So you're now deemed a transfer applicant. So for the UCs, the basic minimum requirements for junior level transfers are going to be a 2.4 minimum GPA for eligibility, 60 semester or 90 quarter transferable units, and what is called the 7-course pattern, which is basically your 2 English courses, a math course, and 4 courses chosen from areas of behavioral sciences, natural sciences, or humanities. In addition to these minimum requirements, there's also what is called major preparation and selection. So we typically want to see a higher GPA for certain majors. And we also want to see that you have accounted for taking the correct courses that are required for that particular major. Real briefly on tuition, the UC Stability Plan, which is brand new, basically states that beginning this past fall, each incoming class will have a set tuition, and that tuition will remain flat up to 6 years. So that is brand new. The cost of attendance, here's a typical board to consider for all the UCs, your tuition and fees, which is pretty much a set amount per campus. But room and board, healthcare, books and supplies, those are going to vary. They're going to vary on a number of factors. The number of roommates you have, the meal plan you select, buying your books used versus brand new, leaving your cars at home versus bringing your cars to campus. So when you see an estimated budget of around $40,000, that's just an estimate. It's not taking into account those variable factors that I just talked about, nor is it taking into account financial aid that you will receive. Over 70% of California undergrads receive grants and scholarships with an average award of around $18,000. 56% of California undergrads pay no tuition because of grants and scholarships. We have a program called the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan, which is designed for low-income families. And we also have the middle class scholarship, which basically caters to families who have an income and assets cap at around $201,000 a year. So these are financial aid opportunities for you to definitely consider. Here's some quick resources for you if you want to take a screenshot of this. Feel free to do so. Basically, this will walk you through the general admissions information, selection process, as well as for freshmen, as well as transfer and the application procedures. So thank you so much. And with that, I could turn it back over to our colleagues.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know we are running towards the end of time. I think you will be shocked at how quickly I am able to talk. So let's see how quickly we can get through this. My name is Abigail McConnell. I am your admissions representative for all of San Mateo County. I did visit Aragon in the fall and plan to this fall as well. So I hope to see all of you there if you have any more questions. We're the University of Redlands. Excuse me, there we go. And just since I am the furthest campus in this presentation, I thought a map would be helpful. We are located in the greater Los Angeles area, about an hour and a half from Los Angeles itself. We are located closer to San Bernardino and out in the mountains near Big Bear, about an hour from Palm Springs, and about an hour flight from the Ontario airport into San Jose, San Francisco, Oakland. So really easy to get to and from, and about a 6-hour drive if you do choose to drive. In our campus itself, we are an 8-minute bike ride from campus to downtown Redlands. So we are really close to a lot of these small mom and pop shops here, but then also modern day necessities, your Trader Joe's, your Chipotle's, all of that fun stuff. And we do have the Metrolink rail system that was just extended in the fall into Redlands as well. So they extended that from San Bernardino into Redlands about 9 miles. And the last stop is about a 5-minute walk from campus just to the edge of where our campus is. Our average daily temperature down here is about 80 degrees. That's obviously going to fluctuate. We got a lot of the rain that you all did as well this last winter. We got snow one day, which was very odd, but for the most part, we're running around 80 degrees. I think we hit about 70 to 72 today, which was really nice. We are located in Redlands, California. We have about 2,300 undergraduate students here on campus. We are residentially focused with guaranteed housing for 4 years and required housing for 4 years. If you live within a certain mile radius of the university, you can appeal that. But with you all being in the Bay Area, you all do live outside of that parameters and would live on for all 4 years. We're an inclusive, socially conscious community, and our mission is to educate both the hearts and minds of our students and provide them their transformative education. Touching on involvement recreation, pre-COVID, we had about 100 clubs and organizations. COVID did dump us back down to about 70, but they are very quickly getting that number back up to 100 plus. Our students will have community service hours while they are here. They have about 80 hours to complete. If you break that up over your 4 years, it's only about 20 hours a year. So it's not too much of a load to take on per year. We have Greek life here on campus as well, about 13 fraternities and sororities. They are all local chapters to Redlands. And it's a great way for our students to get involved. About 20% of the student body does Greek life, and they're able to get community service done through that as well. We have honor societies. Some of those clubs and organizations are major based. A lot of those are not major based. And it's really easy for our students to be able to start an organization and get it recognized by the university if there's something that we don't have that they're interested in. We also have 21 Division III athletic teams. Most likely whatever you all have at your high school, we're going to have here: football, baseball, softball, men's and women's water polo, etc.
Yep.
We also have intramural and club sports here at Redlands. So if you are an athlete currently, but you don't want to play at the collegiate level, there are opportunities for you to be able to still play with your friends, get that exercise, have that involvement. And then we have outdoor programs. So like I said before, we're really close to a lot of different nature here in Redlands, being close to the mountains, being close to Joshua Tree, the ocean. Outdoor programs runs about 30 programs a year. There's a small fee for our students to attend those, and they provide all of the equipment for you to go out for a long weekend, to go hike in Joshua Tree, go skiing and snowboarding, go to the ocean, all of those. And then in the fall, our esports program will be up and running. They will be competing at a Division I level, so there are scholarships tied to that. They play 11 different video games competitively across the country, and they are currently building their small arena on campus and really hitting the ground running in the fall. So we're very excited to have that as a new addition as well. Our diversity and inclusion. We are a Hispanic serving institution down here at Redlands. We have different centers within our student center to help fit student demographics. They do a lot of events. They bring speakers onto campus. That would be our multicultural, our pride, and our gender justice center. Our multicultural center, for instance, just did their multicultural festival on April 1st, which is their largest event of the year. And then we have Native student and first generation student programs, which are much more of like a mentorship opportunity. So if you take our first generation student programs, our first generation students coming into their first year, they can be chosen to be paired with a mentor who's also a first generation student, but maybe a sophomore, a junior, or a senior. Being able to get mentored, kind of have someone who was in their shoes their first year, help them along the way, and then they're able to become a mentor as well if they so choose. With our housing and residence life, we have 14 residential communities here on Redlands. We have living learning communities for all of our first year students, and we do have that housing requirement for all 4 years. We do have different kinds of buildings and room types. So we do have that communal kind of double room that you would all be thinking of when you think of kind of that dorm living. But we also have apartments on campus and kind of a little bit in between as well. So there's plenty of space to grow, to change, and to kind of move around within your 4 years. Our student support and services and resources. We do have academic support services on campus, which includes peer tutoring. All of our classes are taught by faculty. Nothing is taught by students here. We do have a small student to faculty ratio. It's about 13 students to each faculty. So you will get a lot of time one-on-one with your faculty if you need that assistance. But if you do need a little bit of extra tutoring, our students get 2 hours free a week per subject in any of their subjects. So if you're taking a history and you're also taking a science course, you need a little bit of extra help in, you can get 4 hours, 2 for each, free per week for a little bit of an added bonus there. We do have counseling services available on campus for students as well, and an on-campus health center for very much that basic level of care. Not going to take over a primary care physician by any means, but COVID tests, flu shots, really that basic level. And then we are really close to our 2 local hospitals, our Redlands Community Hospital, and then also Loma Linda University is about 15 minutes down the street as well. Here is a list of everything that we offer here at Redlands, all of our majors. There's about 40 of them. Some of those are only minor only. Students do not have to come to us declared. They can come to us undeclared. They have those first 2 years to figure out exactly what it is they want to do. And in order to graduate within 4 years, they need to declare the major by the end of that sophomore year. So they're still being able to explore. They are not wasting time and getting in and out in 4 years, but they're really making sure that that is the best choice for them, taking those few years if they so choose. We have our School of Performing Arts and our Conservatory of Music, which is a separate application. They have an application and an audition process, and there is scholarships tied to that major as well. And then we have our Johnson Center for Integrative Studies. These are students that are not just a single major. They aren't just business. They aren't just public policy majors. They have a very specific kind of coursework they would like to take for their 4 years. And so they work with a faculty advisor within that program to really pick and choose and build their own coursework for 4 years. Students do not have to join this going into their first year. They can join this going into their second, third, or fourth. We have internal transfer spots for all 4 years as well. So if it's not something that you think is going to be a good fit and it ends up being a good fit, there's now wasted time there if you don't apply going into your first year. We also have a 4-year graduation promise here at Redlands. Our students do have to uphold a GPA and they do have to go to class, but we do know that college can be a financial burden for some of our families and our students. We want to make sure that you're getting the education that you want, the education that you deserve, and you're not, stringing that out into 5-6 years. There is just a little bit of gray area with that when it comes to our business and our educations, the 4+1s. You are still technically graduating in 4 years with that bachelor's, so that still does fit within our 4-year graduation promise, but you're adding on that 1 year for an MBA or an MED as well, but that would not fit in here as our master's programs do not go into that 4-year graduation promise. That's just for undergraduate degrees only. And then for our first year admissions, we do go through the common application. There is a $50 application fee. You'll have a spot to fill out your extracurricular activities. You'll have an essay, and then us as Redlands, we have 2 supplemental questions. They are much shorter than your essay, but still important to answer. We'll need a copy of your official high school transcript from your counselor. And then we'll need 2 letters of recommendation, one from a counselor or counselor's consent school reports as well, and then one from a teacher. We have another one from another teacher, a coach, something like that. You can always send in 3 because we will read all 3 for sure. And then we're test score optional. So if you did not take the SAT or you do not want to send those scores in, we do not need them to fulfill your application by any means. As far as deadlines go, we have early decision and early action November 15th. Early decision is a binding kind of contract. Your student will sign that contract if they apply early decision, as well as your counselor and your parent or guardian saying that, I'm applying to Redlands early decision. If I get in, all of my other applications are done. I'm putting my money down early for Redlands and I am committing there early. Early action is just my grades are good. I want to know early, but I'm still weighing my options and kind of want to see what's out there. Our regular decision is January 15th. The biggest change between regular decision and early action is really that first semester of senior grades that would be put into regular decision. And just depending on how much time you give yourself. So if you miss that November 15th deadline, that's absolutely okay to apply still on that January 15th deadline. And then as far as financial aid and scholarships go, all of our applicants are considered for merit scholarships. We do have talent awards in art, creative writing, and theater. You do have to be a major or a minor to accept those. And there's a small just portfolio that you would put forth for those. The music scholarship is what I stated earlier. There's a separate audition and those are handed out if you're a music major or minor. And then we have something called the Hunsaker Prize here as well. This is something that students cannot nominate themselves for, but we nominate you as counselors or your high school counselor can nominate you as well. This is for first year students exhibiting outstanding academic achievement, leadership, community service. We bring you down for an interview process one weekend. And then if you are accepted for this award, which about 10 students a year receive this, you get full financial need covered for all 4 of your years. So it's definitely a larger prize, but I'd like to make sure all of our students and families do know about it. Over 99% of our students here receive some form of financial aid, and that average financial aid package is about $52,500. On top of that, with our Redlands tuition promise, we do have our Cal Grant guarantee. So if you're a first year student and you come to us with a 3.5 or higher GPA, and you're from a qualifying California family with an income of $125,000 or less, that's if you're a family of 4, that does fluctuate if your family is larger or smaller than that. You'll receive your full tuition and scholarships and grants. If you don't qualify for the Cal Grant, we have what we call the 23 and 23. So first year students with a 3.5 or higher GPA will not pay more than $23,000 in tuition. It does not cover full tuition, but that still does take off a pretty significant chunk of that. And I told you all I could talk quick. So is there any questions for me? Anything that I can help answer for you all?
So this question, there was one in the Q&A and I was hoping that we could answer live real quickly. And then afterwards, actually, counselors will be going over a timeline and next steps that pertain specifically to Aragon. So there was a question about what if a student applies undeclared to a school? So I'm hoping you can answer in terms of your school site, and maybe Timothy can answer for UC Merced.
Yeah, so this is something I touched on. It does not affect the student as long as they are declaring by the end of their sophomore year with us. They're still going to fit into that 4-year graduation guarantee. They aren't wasting time as far as declaring a major and getting into classes, because you're still getting credits and your prerequisites out of the way in those first 2 years. I can't speak for Tim over at Merced and what that looks like in the UC system, but for us, you do not have to come to us declared.
Okay, wonderful. And
Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind with this question, if it really wouldn't be offered on the application for the UC, so definitely keep that in mind. But I will encourage you to conduct your research to each individual UC campus, because some campuses with certain highly capped or impacted majors may want to see students apply directly to that program or to the school. Now at UC Merced, you could actually apply undeclared to the School of Engineering, undeclared to the School of Natural Science. We do not take your major or your status on the application into account. However, other campuses definitely may take that into account. But again, many of those campuses may allow you to apply undeclared. So it's very important that you do reach out to each individual UC campus. But as a whole, applying to undeclared is never a negative. But I definitely want to encourage you for certain programs, like certain colleges, they may want to see you indicate a particular major right off the bat. So reach out to each individual campus directly.
thank you. Thank you to you both. And thank you so much for staying longer than we had planned. I appreciate your presentation. Before you both go, if you haven't already, if you could put in your contact information into the chat, or actually, I believe the chat might be not enabled for everyone to see. So is it possible to put in the Q&A?
I actually shared it to you privately. I'll
Okay.
copy and paste that.
Okay, sure. I will do that.
They can actually, they can put things in the chat, and everyone, you can just put it so that everybody sees it.
I don't have that option.
Yeah, they both don't have that option for some
Well,
reason.
I'm gonna fix that for you right now.
Great. So we still have many guests on this webinar, and I would like to take this opportunity to go on to talk about next steps that will actually help specifically our Aragon students and all our processes, especially for those who are applying to private school. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we will continue on with our presentation. So with Abigail at University of the Redlands, she mentioned certain admissions options. She talked about early decision and action, which early decision is a binding. As she mentioned, you do need both a counselor. So one of our school counselors will have to sign off, the student has to sign off, and the family has to sign off, because if the student is admitted, then it is assumed that you are not assumed, but you have to go. It is a binding decision. Early action is not binding. So, which means that if you do get accepted, you can still make a decision on whether or not you wish to attend. There is also a regular decision, so which is a standard applications deadline. Some schools allow you to apply early decision or early action, and if you don't get accepted, they will automatically roll you over into the regular decision pool. But that is not the same at all private schools. Okay, so each private school have their own admissions process, so please read that very carefully. And rolling admissions mean that that school will continue to accept applications and there's not a deadline. And for private schools, majority of the private schools all use what's called the common application. There are a few campuses such as Georgetown, University of Washington, that does not use the common application. So please make sure that the private school that you are applying to accepts the common application. Okay, and it's it's great because the common application, just similar to the UCs, where it is what you use one portal, one application, and then you submit your essays and submit transcripts. Everything is through the Common App. But what it differs from campus to campus, it depends on what's called the supplemental app. So each private school will have their own supplemental application that you can access through the Common application. I know it's a bit confusing, but definitely this is something that counselors can support your students, but it is good just to go ahead and check out the Common application after this presentation. And so you could see what the application entails. You can't start the application because it's not open yet, but I would suggest you to go on the website just to see how the application works. The application fees do vary from campus to campus. Also, letters of recommendations are required. It is usually one counselor and at least 2 teachers. Some private schools recommend 3 teachers or the third person being someone in the community, maybe is an employer, maybe is a supervisor who oversees their volunteer or internship position. So the students will need to speak with the counselor and ask, or the teachers to ask for a letter of rec. And we will go over that in a little bit because we have a very specific process that we expect all of our students to follow through with. And extracurricular activities, just like all the other UCs and CSUs, private schools also look at that. And also, if needed, if they're going to apply to a specific school, such as a music school, then they will have to also submit an audition. Essays, we talked about the Common App has an essay. We also talked about the UC have what's called the PIQs. So for students who are interested in applying to the Common App private schools, there is an essay workshop that will happen on May 11th at 6:30. And then the UC Personal Insight information session will happen on May 5th. So please save these dates and times in your calendar, and the Zoom link will be sent out via Aries Communications, so be on the lookout for that. Something that we haven't really talked about is called the WUI, Western Undergraduate Exchange. It's a wonderful program that allows California students wishing to go outside of California to certain schools, certain public schools, to pay in-state tuition. You don't have to pay out of state. So there's not all colleges are under the WUI, but if you do just go on their website to the Western Undergraduate Exchange website, they will give you a list of all of the campuses who participate in this. And so you do not have to pay out-of-state costs for that public institution. Just pay in-state and you will save so much money. Not a whole lot of our students are familiar with this program, and that's why we wanted to take this moment to really share this great program with you. It's also a great chance just to see what else is out there. If a student might want to explore a little bit more and not stay in California, might want to explore maybe Hawaii or Alaska. So as you can see on the map here is a lot of different states and also territories of the United States are covered under this WUI. I must have clicked on the link. So here is the website. So now I have to find out where, here we go. Oh. Testing requirements outside of California. Majority of the colleges, a lot of them are test optional or even test blind. Private schools do vary by campus to campus, but in the state of California, UC-CSUs are test blind. Private schools do vary from campus to campus, but a lot of them are definitely test optional. And here we are talking about letters of recommendation, and I will allow my colleague to move into this.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Erica Searles, and thank you for trying to get the lighting right here. Thanks for joining tonight. And talking a little bit about letters of recommendation. So it's been mentioned a couple times that letters of recommendation are required for most out-of-state universities and privates, not for the UCs or CSUs. So we're really talking about private and out-of-state universities. We recommend that students ask for 2 teacher letters of rec. So that's something to think about now, to start thinking about, maybe a junior year teacher that a student feels can strongly represent them in a letter, or the student's shown good work in a class or is interested in pursuing that subject area as a major. All good things to think about when thinking about teacher letters of rec. So it is something, and we'll be talking to the juniors, and starting next week, we'll be speaking with juniors in their classrooms about letters of rec and how that all works with teachers, and then the counselor portion too. So most of these schools also require a counselor letter of recommendation. And we will absolutely be writing those. And we have a new process, which I'll get into in a bit. And then since many universities no longer, the recommendation letters, they're going to become more important because the SAT and ACT scores are becoming more blind or test optional. So it's important for your students to start thinking about introducing themselves to the counselor. I mean, we've met all of our students, but sometimes going that extra step and saying hi and just building that relationship can really be helpful. And we'll have a process for getting to know your student better as well before we write their letter. So next slide. So for the counselor letter of recommendation, I mentioned that we'll be presenting to juniors in their classrooms now through May. And we'll be going through a lot of what we went through tonight, and some things in more detail, and absolutely the letters of recommendation process in more detail as well. Ultimately, we're going to have students pick up a checklist in the counseling center. It'll be online, it'll be available with Ms. Tezak, the counselors will have it as well. And it's going to have items for the student to complete. An example could be having a copy of their resume printed out. It could be completing the Naviance letter of recommendation survey, which asks students questions about their interests and their accomplishments and all sorts of good things. There's likely going to be a parent portion as well, where parents can write up to 1 page of input and give some feedback about some highlights of their students, so we can have that perspective, which is always helpful and welcomed. The packets are going to be due by September 22nd for early action or early decision. So that's the non-binding and the binding early applications. So that's typically anything due before we leave for the holiday break in December. That September 22nd will be the deadline for that. So there are some regular decisions applications that are due December 1st, December 15th, but we would need those by December 22nd as well. And we'll be sure to put that on the checklist and advertise that to students. So regular decision apps or apps that are generally due after the holiday break, we have a deadline of November 9th to have the checklist returned. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a nice straightforward process for everybody and for the students and for you. Just go through one by one and do that satisfying check mark when you complete something, return it to us in the counseling office, and we will have your letter written nicely and submitted on time. So counselors also submit the transcripts. We submit, there's something called a school profile and a counselor supplemental piece. So we'll be submitting a lot of that through this next year through a platform called Naviance, which your students will get familiar with if they're not already. Okay, thank you, and passing it along to my colleague.
All right, so as we're closing up, but before we close, we definitely want to go over some post-secondary options. So I know today we've talked a lot about universities, community college, and so forth. But we also like to highlight to our students that there's other options like our occupational training, as well as apprenticeships and trades, the gap year, military, AmeriCorps, and Peace Corps. So there are lots of options, and it also is based on individual scenarios, based on individual stories, lives, and personal choices. So we definitely cover this more in their senior year, but it'll still be something that we'll cover this upcoming May when we go to junior classes and present. But it's really important to just factor in all options and choices. All right, next slide, please. And for the summer, so for juniors, it's really important that they start thinking about what colleges they want to apply to. Create a college list. We want to, usually how I like to tell my students to break up this list is their high achieving colleges, the ones that they have a good chance of getting into or like a solid chance, and then the safe schools, right? So we want to definitely build our list around having those three choices, and then working on their personal statements and PIQs. It's really important. This is how a lot of universities now are considering their students, especially since now they're not looking at SATs and ACTs. Really important that they spend a lot of time drafting their personal statements and their PIQs and having people look them over, especially their counselors or some teachers. So just revisiting that. And then college visits, visiting some colleges, especially nearby. We have East Bay, SF State, San Jose State. So visiting those, getting the perspective of how it feels on campus, and then participating in community service and internships. This again builds on the resume, it builds on their personal statement and what to talk about in these essays. And then having fun and relaxing before the big college time crunch. So in the fall, we do have a lot of seniors who not only are taking a lot of AP classes, but then also having to work on college apps, which I like to tell my students, it's almost like a part-time job, because not only are you having to do homework for your APs and stay on top of your classes, but also now having to make 2 to 4 hours a night to work on all the requirements for these college applications. So definitely relax in the summer, enjoy it, re-energize so that they come ready coming fall. And I believe that's it. Thank you for joining us. Not sure if we're opening up for questions, Ms. Ho.
I think we're okay. We do have one question in the Q&A that pertains specifically to middle college students and how it can positively impact their application. So, you know, we do have students who end up going to middle college, which is great. It's a wonderful program. I believe Ms. Arbizu might have some personal to that you can definitely, yeah, and I think you are the right person to answer this question.
Here we go. So my son Maxwell graduated from the middle college program in 2021. So he was a Hillsdale student for his freshman and sophomore year, and then transferred to middle college as a junior and senior. By the time so the way that middle college works is you take your English, your social studies, and an advisory class with high school teachers, and in some cases, a math class with a high school level teacher, depending on how mathy you are and how advanced you are in mathematics. And then all of the other classes you take are college classes. And what that allows you to do is not have to worry about AP classes or AP tests, because you're already taking college level classes. And students are building a college transcript at the same time. So speaking for myself, oh, that was weird. Joe, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay, can you see me? All of a sudden,
you.
I'm sorry, like
Yeah.
I froze for a moment because my whole screen went, it was very strange. Sorry about that, folks. So Maxwell ended his senior year of high school with 36 college credits. And that is enough to basically be done with your freshman year. He took one more year at College of San Mateo to finish his sophomore year. So basically, after finishing 1 year of post-high school college, he was ready to transfer to a UC or a CSU as a junior. And that year, it was great. So he actually was able to apply to CSUs and UCs. Keep in mind that there's only 2 UCs who, when they accept transfers, they want to see 60 units or more, and they only accept fall junior transfers, and that's UC Berkeley and UC Santa Barbara. We learned that last year. And it's an interesting program. So kids, for the most part, they go to middle college and they don't have to worry about taking advanced placement classes because they're already building a college level transcript. If anybody has any more questions about what it's like for students at middle college, always happy to answer those questions. He's at St. Mary's, by the way. So he chose not to go to the CSU or UC route. He chose to go to St. Mary's. And that was the right choice for him. There are some questions also in here about, I'll just keep answering the middle college because there's one that's there. I don't understand the comms.
I think they're saying, will the counselors write recommendations? I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think it's also important to keep in mind that if students go to middle college, they do have a counselor there. And they do have teachers who will be not only like their English or social studies teacher, but also their advisors. So they're going to get to know those folks really, really well. So they can always ask, our counselors at Aragon for a recommendation as well, but they may find that, after getting to know that small community really well, that they want a letter from there.
The middle college counselor does write letters for middle college students.
Yes.
And the teachers write for them.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So they would have to follow up with the middle college staff to follow with their process.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we might have answered all the questions already. That was great. If there's no more questions, I guess then we're at, someone just said, where's middle college located?
Oh, it is in building 12 at CSM. Building 10 is the nice, pretty new one where the student union is, and building 12 is right next to it. I believe it may be one of the older buildings, but it is on the CSM campus. Students, if they choose to go to middle college, I think it's important to remember that they are considered still a member of their home school. So Aragon students, even if they go to middle college, they're still Aragon students and have all of the rights that go along with that, like going to prom, going to the Woodruff Formal, participating in athletics, and participating in the Aragon graduation when that rolls around. But they also get to do all of those things at middle college as well. We consider middle college more of a program than a separate school, if you will. The middle college graduation is very sweet. Kids will wear their caps and gowns from their home schools. They don't have a separate cap and gown for CSM, so it looks like Skittles. So there's a rainbow of caps and gowns out on the graduation field.
Thank you, Ms. Arbizu. So I want to thank you to the PTSO for allowing us to kind of join forces, if you will, to provide this presentation to our Aragon families. And please visit the Aragon website for any information. This webinar is recorded and will be uploaded to our AHS YouTube channel. And we will also be going into the classrooms. Counselors will be presenting to the junior class starting next week. And so your students will be getting a lot more, even more so than what was presented today. We'll be going over into a lot of details. So in that presentation, although we can't record that presentations, but the slide deck will be available and uploaded once we finish our presentations in the junior class. So thank you again to everyone tonight. And if there's any further questions, please reach out to the college representatives. Their information is listed in the chat, and all of the counselors' information, email, phone number is all available on our website. Thank you again. PTSO, if there's any last comments that you want to make. Otherwise, I think Ms. Arbizu, we could end the meeting for tonight.
I think you're right. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now and wish everyone a lovely evening. And I'll make sure this is up on our YouTube channel as all of our counselors come back and wave at you. We'll make sure this is on our YouTube channel at some point by this weekend. We'll also include it in the family newsletter so you can just click the link and come right to it. Thank you so much.